Hi, I'm Charles with AniCap. Today's video is the final part of my 4-part recap for the anime Dead Man Wonderland. Previously, the wrongfully imprisoned Ganta joined a group of rebels in order to escape Dead Man Wonderland and expose its warden Tamaki. His old friend Shiro is revealed to be Ganta's nemesis, but he has yet to find out. The rebel group's plan begins to fall apart and Shiro shows up to destroy the chip meant to expose Tamaki. The story continues with the rebel group scolding Shiro for destroying the important chip. Ganta doesn't understand how she could do that to him and fills with rage as he thinks about how he had been entrusted with the chip by all those that sacrificed their lives. Shiro explains that the chip was too dangerous and he is too weak to be left on his own. He is furious as she continues on and hits her as he has grown tired of her. The group reunite with Karako, who is surprised to see that Shiro is actually a traitor. However, Ganta explains that is not the case as she has been clueless since they were children. She reveals to them that there is still time to complete the mission as the federal inspection of Dead Man Wonderland is still happening. They wonder what they can do without the chip and she explains that all they have to do is reveal their powers to the inspectors as that would surely be enough. She also has a strong feeling that Nagi isn't dead and promises to save him. In Tamaki's office, Makina hacks his computer but is interrupted by him with a higher up as they discuss how they may be able to produce more dead men. Later, members of Scar Chain consider asking a high-profile inmate for some assistance. They would like to ask someone named Mockingbird but have no way of tracking down his location. Ganta reminds them that he is still there and Karako says that it is nothing personal, they just need someone with experience fighting the Undertakers. He takes all the blame for involving Shiro and for everyone's death, but she tells him to stop that kind of talk. Everyone is ecstatic to see Rokaru arrive, but he is enraged wanting to know who found out the chip was actually a bomb. He finally reveals that he had betrayed them and Ganta thinks about how Shiro actually saved them. Elsewhere, Genkaku injects Nagi with something as he screams of his wife's murder. Genkaku says he should be grateful as he has allowed his group to live, but not for long. We find Shiro as she has a memory of the person that told her that the chip was actually a bomb. She is looking for the director who she calls Grandpa, not knowing that he is dead. She has a fond memory of him where she talks about her friend Ganta. She is glad to not have to share her snacks with Ganta now that he is mad, but then begins to cry. Rokaru reveals that he had created the fake video that decided Ganta's fate in court, and tells him of the horrifically gory past of the 2 lieutenants that will be Ganta's executioners. He knows that his abilities are useless against them and is more helpless than ever. Just then, Senji appears behind them to save Ganta and wishes he had told them about the party. Rokaru explains the complicated way their weapons negate the dead man's abilities, but Senji seems unfazed and successfully figures out that all he needs to do is create a supersonic blade. Rokaru is stunned and Ganta can't help but think how amazing Senji is and how complete opposites they are. Somewhere else, Genkaku continues to inject Nagi with a serum that will force him to become an Undertaker. Nagi's resistance is too strong, so Genkaku reminds him how he murdered his wife and how Nagi went on a rampage on the Undertakers afterwards. He doesn't believe that actually happened and accuses Genkaku of planting that memory in his mind. Back at the hideout, Ganta laments his own weakness, and how much of a liability he is, especially after realizing how poorly he treated Shiro. The rebels reassure him, feeling inspired to now have Senji on their side, but he reveals that he has no intentions of joining, since he doesn't care to leave Dead Man Wonderland. Shiro's mysterious helper finally reveals his name to be Todo, also known as the Mockingbird. She is in a bad mood and he tells her not to worry as he would never think of harming her. Ganta is really down on himself and goes to the training room, desperately asking for Senji to train him. He explains he wants to become stronger to rescue Nagi, be more reliable for Shiro, and be able to finally kill his past self. Senji double checks to make sure he knows what he's getting into, then agrees to teach him. Elsewhere, Todo expresses his disbelief that Shiro's own friend hit her. Shiro explains that Ace Man is her secret identity and she changed into it to help Ganta. She can't understand why Ganta hates her so much and Todo convinces her that he is simply ungrateful for all the time she had saved him. Shiro agrees and goes off to punch Ganta back. Todo eats some of her candy to find that it contains alcohol but thinks nothing of it. Members of Scar Chain go over their plan to rescue Nagi, and Karako reveals that she gave the wrong time to Ganta for his own good. The group leave and Rokaru tells Karako that they might as well be taking their own lives. She leaves and has a memory of an interaction with Nagi where he talks of his main motivation, his daughter, and expresses optimism in the future. However, the locket he carries that he claims holds a picture of his daughter is actually empty. In the training room, Senji tells Ganta that he must be able to shoot his blood projectile faster than sound. He has an idea and destroys all but one of Ganta's candies. Senji will only give it back if Ganta can get a projectile past him and cut it down. He continues to struggle as their session is interrupted by Todo looking for Shiro, who he says is looking for someone named Ganta. Todo explains that Senji hasn't seen him in a while because he had died for a bit. Todo would rather not fight, and Senji explains to Ganta that he is the strongest dead man in Wonderland. However, Todo reveals that is not the case at the moment and introduces himself to Ganta before leaving. In the next scene, Tamaki instructs Genkaku to finish off the rest of the rebels as soon as he can. Here it also becomes very apparent that he had been successful in turning Nagi into a monster. Later, the undercover Karako waits for her opportunity to find Nagi when Shiro drops from the ceiling completely drunk and lost. Karako attempts to act like a guard, but Genkaku sees right through her disguise. Senji decides to call it quits since he assumes Ganta must be at his limits. However, Ganta refuses and wants to keep going. He launches one more projectile but is disappointed at how small it is because of lack of blood. However, it manages to do some major damage. Just then, Genkaku appears on television using Ganta's friends to antagonize him. Karako screams for Ganta to focus only on escaping and getting the truth out to the world, but it's too late, he has already left to rescue them. The other rebels can't believe Karako went on her own, but they still decide to abandon the mission and rescue her instead. Ganta loses hope as he is caught by the Undertakers. However, Manatsuki appears to save him and claims to have learned attacks faster than light in order to defeat the Undertakers. She tells him where to find their base, but refuses to go with them, saying it wouldn't be fun. She also says she belongs in prison for what she had done, but Ganta says she was only protecting herself. As the Undertakers begin to torment their captors, Karako can only think about how she hopes her friends have gotten out safely. Just then, Ganta arrives and is mocked for attempting to attack Undertakers with his abilities, but they are shocked to find that his attacks are too fast to stop. However, he has lost too much blood for the day and can't continue fighting. Shiro attempts to run to him but doesn't make it as she is attacked by Hibana. Genkaku wants to start the show as it seems all the other Scar Chains have run away. Doors open to reveal Nagi, who begs that Karako stay far away. She explains they must leave as his daughter is waiting for him, but he reveals that the daughter he always speaks of died inside her mother when Genkaku killed her. He says that hatred has been festering inside him since that day, and remembers how Tamaki showed him the aftermath. He now claims that he has finally woken up and can't understand why anyone should get to live when his baby died. His hatred has reached its limits and he unleashes wildly devastating attacks. Hibana questions if it's okay to just let Nagi attack their comrades, and is surprised to see that Genkaku is actually enjoying it. Ganta comes to Shiro's rescue, but she just wants him to run, proclaiming that she will never forgive him if he were to die. Ganta tries to relate his pain to Nagi's, but he is no longer the same, and only speaks of the darkness he sees. Ganta continues, and Nagi can hear the familiar sound of Karaku's bell. It reminds him of all the rebels, as Ganta goes on about fighting with all you have, as it's the least that is owed to the people that you love. In that moment, Ganta collapses and realizes that he has not eaten candy, causing his collar to sound its warning. Nagi finally comes to his senses and Karaku embraces him. The two share a tender moment just seconds before she's pierced through the heart by Genkaku. Ganta launches his projectiles at him, but they are no match. Karaku manages to seal her wound, and Genkaku says he intentionally missed vital organs so that she could be killed by the person that she loves. He intends for Nagi to embrace himself and end her life, but he refuses. In his disappointment, Genkaku deals a devastating blow to Nagi and goes on a rampage. We get a glimpse into Genkaku's past when we see him being constantly harassed by some bullies. On the day of the Great Earthquake, he would have his revenge, believing that what he actually had done was save them. He believes himself to be a great monk and claims that death is peace, but somehow also rock and roll. Ganta's collar continues to beep as poison runs rampant through his body. Hibana attempts to escape the madness when she encounters Todo and instantly attacks him, but that proves to be a bad idea. Ganta once again laments his weakness, and the crystal in his chest begins to glow. Genkaku continues to preach his twisted views when Shiro immediately heals and stands before him. However, Ganta stops her as he wants his turn to now be the hero, saying he owes her an ace man. Something different is happening with his body, but he doesn't realize it, as he gives a speech about going on for the people that count on him. He unleashes a marvelous attack that Genkaku can't avoid since Nagi has decided they will both be dying right then and there. After everything has settled, a fading Nagi calls Ganta over and gives him a candy as he will no longer be needing it. He gives a heartfelt goodbye to Karaku as she cries over him. Shiro wakes saying that Ganta can finally get what he wants and leave, but he explains that he won't go if it means leaving her. He apologizes for hitting her considering it is the worst he has ever felt. He can no longer hold back all his emotions and cries in her arms. We do see, however, that some of the rebels chose to escape, much to the dismay of Tamaki. He isn't pleased with the Undertaker's poor performance, and Makina explains that although he has lost some of his prisoners, she has managed to keep hers. She plans to conduct an interrogation to determine what they have been through, and Tamaki is surprised to hear her ask for his permission to do so. Makina asks her lieutenant if the members have been chosen for an unknown reason, and she says they have. Later, Shiro sings to Ganta a song that is very familiar to him. She reveals that it should be, considering his mother made it up. He asks that she stop since that was a song he heard right before all his friends had been killed, and thinks about how odd it is that the red man would sing it. Thanks for watching. If you haven't watched the first 3 parts, the link to those will be down below.